I lost the window of daylight to film, but at least I'm filming on a Thursday this time and not a Friday. Also because this video is gonna take a long time to edit. I got out a book to use as a tripod and it had a clover in it, but the fourth leaf fell off, so I guess that's like the opposite of luck, so let's get rid of that. That's a joke. I don't believe in anything really. A few weeks ago I made a video where I talked about my memories from a specific year of my life, and doing that and going through all my learning experiences and all of that, I thought I would go through my life living in London. I'm from Norway and I just moved back from London after living there for 7 years. Living there and moving abroad and living abroad is such a roller coaster, and I'm never gonna get done talking about it. I think it's very interesting and important to share your experiences and your true experiences because it is challenging, and while I do want to encourage people to move abroad and experience that part of life and explore the world, I think it's very important to have realistic expectations because it's not just gonna be easy. So this is gonna be part 1 of my life in London series, I guess it's gonna be, and today I'm gonna talk about mainly like how I moved there and how I adjusted to living there. I've talked about a lot of the things I'm gonna talk about in this series in other videos here and there, but this is just focused on that specifically. So first, how I moved, because I think that's important information, and it's also like very helpful because I know a lot of people are looking for advice, and for me I never really had a plan to move to London specifically. I literally just searched the kind of course that I wanted to do and I found one in London. I wanted to move abroad, but I also wanted to maybe not move that far because the year prior I'd lived in Orlando, Florida for a year and it was difficult to be that far away. I really wanted to move to New York City. I mean, I still really want to, but it's just one of those dreams that I'm not gonna do that because I can't do everything and I don't want to leave my friends and family again. So I was kind of like London, New York City, but London ultimately won because it's so much closer, and also obviously it would be a lot more expensive to live in New York City because the school fees would be more and flights would be more, just everything would be more expensive. And I quickly settled on a university because they had the exact combination that I wanted to do, because I wanted to do a joint degree, which means I wanted to study 2 different things and make it into 1 degree. And I was like, how do I apply? Because the only place before that I applied for uni was in Norway, and everyone knows what website to use because there's one website and everything is just like synced and they get your information, like it's really easy. So I asked one of my friends who was currently studying in Wales and he was like, have you contacted Across the Pond? And I was like, who's that? And he was like, girl, get with them because they will help you with everything. Apparently they're an organization that helps people, they help you with everything about their application process, and it's so amazing. I did my application, sent in everything, and I was like, of course I'm gonna get in. And I mean, I did. Specifically to what I was applying to, I don't think it was very hard to get in. In the subject line, it just said, your offer from Kingston. I got into my dream study. That's really great news. I got my unconditional offer in April, I think, and I was gonna move there in September, so I had a lot of time to like prepare and just wait. And I remember that I didn't tell anyone that I was gonna do this, except one of my friends that I was gonna potentially move in with for the next year where I was studying, like where I was living. We went to a viewing and I was like, you know what? I applied to a uni in London, so like I think this viewing is pointless. And she was like, okay. She is amazing. She's very supportive, so she wasn't mad, but she was just very surprised because we were like planning to move in together, and then I was like, well actually I'm not gonna do that. And I didn't even tell my family members until I just posted it on Facebook that I got in, which looking back I'm like, why did I do that? That's so stupid. I'm really bad at telling people things, and sometimes I feel like it's just easier to like post something. Well, I don't do that now, but I think before it was just easier for me to just post it so that I didn't have to have a conversation with everyone. I was just really bad at actually telling people stuff. So obviously I had my place at uni and now I needed to find somewhere to live because I had no idea about anything. Finding accommodation, like that's something that I'd never done before. So I applied for student halls and I got it, which was great because I would have been so lost. So there were like flats with 4 rooms, so 4 people sharing a kitchen. And I was like, yay, that's gonna be exciting. And so I thought, but we'll get into that later. I was really happy to have that sorted, obviously, and I got my like student loans and like everything was sorted. In Norway it's really easy to get student loans, at least it was back then, but I can't imagine it has changed. Norway is very much like everyone should be able to get an education, and I was just preparing to move. As I'm moving abroad again, there are some things that I'm gonna do differently because I have some experience. I remember I was kind of like, I don't need to bring a lot of clothes because I'm gonna buy a lot of clothes in London because there's so many like cool clothes shops and all of that. And do you really think I went shopping the first week that I was there? And I just remember like wearing the same, like I ran out of clothes, and I booked a musical for the first week that I was there. Les Mis, my favorite musical. I already knew it was my favorite musical before going to see it. I was like, I'm gonna do this alone, I don't care. I'm so excited to watch it, and I don't know if I can find someone who likes Les Mis that quickly so that I can go and see it immediately when I get there, because I wasn't gonna wait. Before we all like left for London, there were these different Facebook groups for people who were gonna live at these halls, and I think there was a group for like uni or something that they added us to or something, but I don't really think anyone like really talked in that one. But in the halls one, people were talking a lot, and I remember I posted something about not drinking because I think I was a little bit worried that a lot of people were just gonna want to drink all the time and party, which is something that I'm not interested in at all. And I remember multiple people being like, no, like I don't drink, it's gonna be great. I just remember like that was so good. It was also really nice to be able to meet some of the people before going there, because I was obviously embarking on this adventure by myself and I didn't know anyone. They also planned to go to Nando's like the first day that we arrived, because we all arrived on the same day. And then the day of the departure, everything went pretty well, I think, which is rare for me. At the airport, like some people were picking us up to like shuttle us back to the uni, and from uni they were gonna take us to our accommodation. And at the airport I talked to a girl from Norway, and she asked me if I had a phone plan set up, and I was like, nope, I don't know what I'm doing. And she was just like, get giffgaff, it is the best, it's so cheap. I ended up using giffgaff for the majority of my stay in London because it's so cheap, and that was just like another thing sorted. That was something that I didn't know how to do at all. So that was really good, because for my first days I remember that I just didn't have data. So it was first of all like hard to meet up with people, and it was also hard knowing where to go, because I remember I was trying to go to Asda, like a grocery store. I literally took pictures or like screenshots of every turn that I needed to make to get there so that I would know where to turn so I would end up there. And there were a lot of twists and turns on the way there, but it went fine. I remember when we got to uni from the airport, everyone were like so tired and we just wanted to get there, and everyone had a lot of luggage, and they kind of just like let us sit there for a while, and it was so boring. And I just remember everyone were like complaining because we were hungry and tired, and you just want to get there, you know, you don't want to have like a break in your journey, you want to get there. Finally they took us to our accommodation, and I remember getting into the car and like everyone were confused that the steering wheel was on the right side instead of the left. That was definitely one of my first times ever sitting in a car that was English. We got to our halls, we got our rooms. They gave us like a little care package or whatever with some snacks like granola bars and a pot noodle. Oh, also I was like annoyed that we had to stay at the uni for that long because I was going to Nando's and they were really messing up my plans. I spoke to these other few girls and they were like, oh, do you want to like go and get pizza? But I was like, no, like I think I'm gonna go to Nando's. And then I just missed out on both of these. So I had the pot noodle. That was my dinner for the first day. I just remember making the noodles and I was like, big city life, huh? But obviously it was fine. I was just really excited about everything. I probably just got unpacked and all of that. The day after, we probably had some kind of activity going on because it was Freshers Week, so we had all of these things that we were doing, different like tours and activities and just a lot of different things. We went to uni to like sign up for like a doctor's thing, and I don't even remember when all of this happened, but I was really trying to like find my place there, and it was really fun to make friends from other parts of the world, because when I lived in Florida I really enjoyed that. I met people from just a lot of different countries and I got to have that experience again. And the friends that I made that I still have are Kadeem and Riss and Elena, which I really just had so much fun with, and they're such a central part of my time in London that I will just always like treasure. I remember so specifically like meeting them for the first time and like getting to know them, and they all called me Tuna. They still call me that, and it always confuses people because later in my time in London I ended up going by Tone. My name is actually pronounced Tuna, but no one can pronounce that, so I like switched names a lot, and like a lot of people just called me different things. That's what it's like when your name is unpronounceable. So we really just enjoyed living in London and doing all of these London themed things that we had been like fantasizing about or whatever. It was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad that I met people who really enjoyed going out and doing stuff, because obviously like you don't move to London to like sit in your room, like you do, you kind of move to have an actual adventure and do stuff. I remember around November time uni started becoming difficult for me. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it, because it was definitely the right path, like I was definitely in the right course and I really loved it, but it was difficult. Studying in a language that isn't your native language, obviously it's gonna be more difficult than being in Norway, like being in your own country. It wasn't just that. It wasn't that my English wasn't good enough to study there. One of the modules that I had was very in-depth and it had a lot of heavy reading, a lot of difficult words. It was difficult for people who had English as as a native language. So for me, I just felt like this is so unfair. Like, this is already hard if your English is 100% perfect. How am I gonna do this? And I remember kind of having like a semi breakdown. I didn't go to class one day because I was just like, I can't do the reading that was required for the class. So like, why am I gonna go to the class? And I was like, what am I gonna do? And I remember talking to my dad and I was like, this is so hard. I don't know what to do. And he was really like, do the reading, do as much as you can, like go to the classes, don't miss the classes. It's okay if it's hard, like you're allowed to find it difficult, like all of these things. And it just really helped. And I saw that other people were complaining and I was just really happy that it wasn't just me, because you don't want to feel like you're worse than the others. You want to feel like you're on the same level and you can do as much as them. Luckily, my friend Kadeem and I had the exact same modules, so if something was hard, like I could always kind of like not lean on him, but like get help and get support, because his first language is English, so like he could help me with different things. And I just remember like it was so nice to share modules with a friend, because you always have someone to talk to about it that you can feel safe with. So I just wanted to point that out, that I did find it difficult because it was challenging. I did end up getting very good results that I'm proud of, which I'll talk more about later. That's not year one material. In England, I mean, at least at this university, I don't know how it works other places, but the first year doesn't actually count towards your final grade, which for me was probably good. I don't even remember what my grades were the first year, but the second year counts 40% and the third year counts 60. So your first year is mainly just learning how to be a student and like getting into things, which I appreciate because it probably helped my final grade. Obviously, as I was settling in and getting used to living there, I had to adjust to all the cultural differences, which I did not expect to be that big. Geographically, the UK is not far away from Norway. I had previously lived in Florida and I had a lot of things to adjust to there, but I didn't expect the UK to be that different, but oh my lord. First of all, obviously, the driving on the left is so weird. I don't understand why it's a thing, but even if you're not a driver, which I wasn't, I'm still part of the traffic when I'm a pedestrian. You have to learn to look in the right direction when you're crossing the street, and I still struggle with that today. Whenever I look to the right before crossing the street, I'm like, no! You're in Norway! We drive on the correct side of the road! And I also remember like buying certain food items that I just expected to be the same in England that they were in Norway, and then I ate them and I was like, oh, what did they do to this? And obviously like prices of everything are generally lower in England, so you can like treat yourself to like cab rides and stuff, which in Norway, like you don't ever get a cab unless you're either rich or you're really desperate for a ride home. And like eating out is something that I really enjoyed, because that's just something that I've been used to being a treat, something that you don't do very often, but in England like you can do it more often because it is a little bit cheaper. And things such as there being 2 taps on a sink, one with hot water and one with cold water, and this one is like scorching hot and this one is ice cold. There are some things in other countries that just make you appreciate your own country more. Also, I had to endure the cold winter of a house in England because a lot of the time, like, the houses are not insulated and it's very cold. We all struggled with the fact that the heaters in our student halls would turn on a schedule and we couldn't control them ourselves. So they would be on and like we wouldn't be home, or like they would not be on during the night. It was really annoying. They also had like building work going on, which was really annoying, and I'm like, why weren't we warned? Or like, why wasn't this finished before we came here? So we had like a lot of noise going on all the time, and also these builders that would catcall students, which was highly inappropriate and very uncomfortable. I would say that at this point it's kind of a stereotype that builders in the UK are really gross and catcall people, but in my experience it has been true, unfortunately, for the majority of them. I recently walked past some builders in my hometown in Norway and they didn't catcall me or even look at me, and I'm like, this is what it should feel like to be respected. Towards like November, December, I started really enjoying the fact that I could have friends visiting me. A lot of my friends wanted to visit me in Florida, but we were 19 at this point and not a lot of people have the money to just fly to the US and pay for a hotel without your family coming with you and helping to pay for stuff. It's expensive, so naturally I didn't have anyone visiting me except for my family. But in London I had a lot of friends come visit me. It was just so much fun and amazing to be able to show them my new life there and the cool city that I lived in. It was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I also had some people that were just randomly in London and they had the chance to come and meet me, which was really cool. And I also just obviously have to mention that I went celebrity hunting a lot and met a lot of cool people. I don't even have the pictures for all of them. It was really fun to be able to see people that are like, oh my god, you're a real person. A funny story, when my friend Ingrid came to visit me and she stayed in my hall, I was like, I'm not even gonna bother signing her in because it probably doesn't matter. We went to sleep and we were woken up the next day by the fire alarm, and we had to obviously run outside, and they asked everyone for their flat and room number. And when they asked my friend, obviously my friend had no answer. She was like, I'm with her. And they turned to me and was like, oh, is she signed in? And I was like,
she just got here this morning.
And we were like in our pajamas, clearly just woken up, and they were like, okay. And I can't believe that worked. The reason I remember this so well is because I'm such a bad liar and I never lie about anything because I can't make stuff up on the spot like that. About other things, yes, of course I can. I'm a creative person. But lying about something and trying to make it seem natural or seem like it's not suspicious, I can't do that. In December, I had my first like, oh shit, it's hard to live abroad kind of thing happen because the Norwegian currency, I don't even remember what happened, but it really sunk. So it was worth a lot less. And I got my student loan in the Norwegian currency, of course, but my tuition and rent obviously stayed the same amount. So it turned out to be way more expensive, and I was like, I have no money. The second thing that happened, I've talked about this before as well. I woke up one morning before class and I just checked my Facebook real quick because I was still in bed and I was like, I don't want to get up yet. And there's this Facebook group of my hometown in pictures. So people just post pictures there, and someone had posted a picture and it said like fire in like the area that I live in, and it was my house. It was actually the garage, but from the angle the photo was taken from, it looked like the house was burning, and I was like, my parents are there. And it was just terrifying, and I messaged my dad and I was like, what is going on? And he was like, oh, like the garage just burnt down, don't worry. And I was like,
don't worry?
What? But like obviously no one got hurt and it was fine. It's really hard to be abroad and away from everyone when something like that is happening. Something also happened a few months after that that just made it so hard, and I wanted to like be there for one of my friends and I just couldn't. I had to do it, you know, over the phone and all of that, and it was just really hard because I hadn't really felt that hard yet, because at this point I was only a year and a half into living abroad and I didn't even know how much harder it would get with other things happening. It can get really hard to be abroad and be away from everyone because you can't hug people. That sucks. It is like proper getting dark. This is not great. I'm trying to find a good ring light to use for my videos, but I want to buy it used and it's hard because not a lot of people are selling them. So let's move on to something more enjoyable. My friends, new friends, great friends, and I were just kind of enjoying everything being so available to us and being able to do all of these things. I went to Disneyland Paris with my friend Christian, and I did want to do more traveling when I was in London because it's cheaper to go from there than from Norway, but you know, you have a lot of plans they're gonna do. I was gonna go to Ireland, I was gonna go to Scotland. I barely even saw any parts of England outside of London. Oh, I didn't talk about my living situation yet. I thought that living in student halls would be like fun, I guess. I feel like it's glorified a lot when people talk about it, like, oh, it's so much fun, you meet people, you get friends, blah blah. It's actually just terrible.
You get trauma, that's what you get.
You get so much trauma! I lived with 3 other people, one of which I never saw, the other one I kind of didn't see either. The third person was so immature and so annoying and would just party all night and all of this shit. I think they were Muslim, so I think they didn't drink. And I was like, oh yay, that's gonna not be an issue then. I know, they still knew how to be real loud. So annoying. And they were messy and just gross. The exact thing you can expect from student halls. And also annoying is that like the doors would just shut, like lock if you close them without doing the thing. So I locked myself out multiple times and I had to walk to the admin place, office, whatever, without shoes. At least I didn't go there in my bathrobe, which I saw people doing a lot. Oh, also living there, my whole experience with like terrible traveling started because I had like kind of tasted a little bit of that living in Florida because my way back was like traumatizing. I'm never going to Toronto airport ever again. When I came back from Christmas, my flight got struck by lightning, which is not as scary as it sounds. It just means that you have to return to the base airport of that plane. So we had to like turn back and get rescheduled and all of that, and we had to like suddenly go to like Copenhagen and just dash through the airport. It was a whole mess. When I scanned my ticket, a person behind me like looked at my name and found me on Facebook later, and they wanted to like hang out and stuff, but I just didn't have the time because they lived in a different part of London and I didn't have the time or effort or anything, so that didn't end up happening. But I guess that's also a way to meet people organically. which I probably would not recommend because there's definitely a chance people will think you're a creep. And my suitcase got delivered to me like a few days later, and my friends just like found it in the lobby of the like office, whatever, and they were like, oh, your suitcase is here. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm so glad that they just put it there where everyone could steal it. But I got my suitcase and everything was fine. I had like Norwegian dairy products in there, but I mean, they didn't spoil. I ate them and I didn't get food poisoning, so. But yeah, let's move on from that to moving out. I'm really excited to move out because I'm so done with the dorm room life. Just packing up my whole room, and then I went home for like 3 or 4 months over the summer. That was my first year in London. I know I've talked for a long time. 1 down, 6 to go. Well, I'm probably gonna condense them more. I just wanted to make this kind of like in-depth over like moving and the whole process because it is a lot. So yeah, get ready for more drama next time because this was a very chill year in my life compared to what's coming. So I hope you're excited for the continued story of my crazy life in London. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next Friday with a new video. Keep up the good vibes. Bye!